Hi, and welcome to Stress Busters. I am Dr. Keisha Moore of Life and Focus Coaching, and I help women to create more time and energy so that you can accomplish your most important goals, both professionally and personally. I'm also the host of a Facebook group entitled Purpose, Passion, and Power. And this is a free Facebook group created for female business owners and female professionals who want to create a career and a life that you love. So I've included a link to the Facebook group in the description, and you can click on that and join. I'd love to see you in there. But right now, I want to take time to get to know you. So I've introduced myself. Please do type in your name. Let me know where you're joining in from. Let me know what questions you might have about how you set limits and how setting limits can help you accomplish your goals. So today we're going to be talking about how you benefit from dropping the ball. That's right. What I'm going to show you is how all the work that we often do trying to meet and juggle all these competing demands on our time, trying to be everything for everyone, that does not work. It doesn't help us. It leaves us feeling stressed, guilty, and it blocks our authentic success. Now, I'm interested in helping everyone live a life that is full of meaning, purpose, and joy. I want you to reach your peak performance. And in order to do so, I've created a guide, a free guide that I make available to everyone in my Facebook group. And the guide is called Focus on Success. And it's the roadmap for growing a profitable business. So for those of you who are female business owners, I encourage you to click on over, join the Facebook group, download the guide, and start working on creating a bigger and more profitable business and creating the life of freedom and flexibility that you deserve. So let's start by being honest, okay? So honestly, most women are overworked, overscheduled, and overwhelmed. Can you relate to that? Well, it's not just you, and it's not your fault. There are reasons why we as a community of women are often in this situation. And part of it is around the big changes that have gone on in the last 30 to 40 years around gender roles, and particularly women in work. So, although there are so many women now working in the paid labor force, we still have these cultural ideas in the way we organize both work and home are organized around this cultural image of a worker as male and as a parent or someone at home and the nurturer as female. And so that creates a lot of conflict for women who find themselves in the position of worker as well as the position of caretaker. And that could be for your children, or it could be caretaking for other people in your family. So for me, one of the times when I really kind of hit up against this very early on in my career was I was teaching, and I teach at a university. It was the beginning of my teaching experience at this university. And my children were very young, and I had just enrolled them in daycare. And I had no idea that daycare is where kids go to get sick. And I also didn't know that you have to come and get your kid when they're sick and take them out of daycare so they don't infect the other kids. So this was something that for me was showing to me how often we are expected to just be workers and not parents, not humans who have connections and responsibilities to other people beyond work. So I got the call from daycare, you have to come and get your kid, he's sick. So I go over there, and to pick up my kids, on my way over there, I check in with my chair to say, I have to go and get my kid, he's sick, so I won't be able to have class today. I'm going to have to cancel class. To which my chair responds with, we never cancel class. You know, teaching is so important to us. This is a teaching institution. We're really invested in our students. We hire people who are very much committed to the art of teaching and to making sure that students reach their full potential, and on and on and on. And I'm sitting here like, well, what am I going to do? My kid is sick. They won't keep them. I have to go get them. Am I supposed to have my students come to my house? And then my chair said, yeah, that's a good idea. Why don't you do that? So I leave and email my students and tell them where I live. I lived in faculty housing, and so invited them over for class. We were going to have class in my house. So they come. I have, one sick kid who's vomited all over me and then passed out. And then I have my other baby just running all around waiting for the babysitter to come. And I have class. Now, I wouldn't do that now. I've grown and learned a lot, but it does reflect kind of how clear we think of workers as your only responsibility, and your most important responsibility is supposed to be to work. And people who bring in family issues, that's kind of felt like, oh, well, you're not really committed to your job as a worker or to your identity as a professional. And that couldn't be further from the truth. But it does pose a particular strain for women who often are also expected to be the nurturers and the caretakers for the people in their family. Another way in which this creates challenges for women who are entering or participating in the workforce is that women often have what's known as a second shift. So everybody, you get up, you go to work, you're out the house, you're doing your 40 hours a week, your 8-hour days, and then you come home, and then there's a whole new set of work that you have to do. You have to eat, you have to wash dishes, do clothes, do all of those. If you have children, childcare. And so everybody has those responsibilities, both to care for yourself and to go out and work. But the interesting thing, the research has shown that women, even if they're working outside of the home, still do more of those responsibilities of work in the home. So they do more hours of housework, they do more childcare. Now, men in this generation do way more childcare and housework than previous generations. So I'm not trying to give the impression that they're just kind of sitting down, kicking their feet up while you're vacuuming. But the research shows that it's still not equal. And so this expectation that women are supposed to do, this fabulous job in terms of nurturing and keeping a clean and immaculate home, and a fabulous job at work and putting in all those long hours, and that at no point should work and family life overlap, right? These should be mutually exclusive. And it's really an impossible reality. And many women wind up feeling both stressed and guilty because we're not able to keep those two things totally separate. And when one bleeds into the other, we feel like in some way we're less than. We're either, not as good of a worker as we should be, or not as good of a parent as we should be. So I don't know if you've seen the movie Bad Moms, but it's a hilarious movie. And one of the scenes that I personally could really relate to is when, she's pulling up and going to the PTA meeting after a ridiculously long and stressful day at work, and is made to feel guilty because she can't volunteer on all of these committees and show up in the classroom at 10 o'clock for the class party and do all of these other things that are often expected of good moms or responsible parents, and everyone who, turns and looks at her because they're working not outside of the home, but they are homemakers, are like, well, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you a good mom? And so I've felt that level of stress and pressure and guilt. And then what happens so many times is that we as women, we double down on this strategy, right? So we have this idea that we can do it all, and all we have to do is work harder. And even though it's stressing us out, even though we're losing sleep, even though we're feeling our health is being compromised, we feel like it must be something that'll make it all work. And so then we look to ourselves and try to work harder and faster and more and more and more and get more done with less time. And that's going to be the solution. Now, there are reasons why we think this is going to work. And there's a whole marketing industry that has taught us that the problem is we just haven't found the right gadget. If we just buy this service, if we just buy this gadget, then all of those pieces will work together seamlessly and we'll be able to be this culturally ideal image of 100% worker and 100% parent or 100% caretaker, and it'll fit together so nicely. But the truth is, it doesn't. And there's a lot of danger in enacting this double down strategy. So I wanted to share with you a concrete example of what can happen when we ignore the conflicting information that we're getting and we just double down and try to do our original strategy and just do more of it and go harder. So the example that I thought of was the 1996 disaster on Mount Everest. So in 1996, this was the largest number of people who ever died at one time on the mountain trying to climb Mount Everest. And it happened in May of 96. There were 3 different teams that had assembled and with the intention of climbing this mountain. And the teams assembled, they made it to Camp 2. So on the day 2, they were at Camp 2. And while they were getting ready to leave Camp 2, there was an unexpected storm that ripped through the camp. And it created a lot of damage. It was a very dangerous storm. And so the people had a choice. Either we're going to continue with our expedition or we're going to turn around and go back to Camp 1 and replan and re-strategize. Well, unfortunately, they decided to continue with the expedition. And this led to the death of 8 people. And there were only 3 people who survived this event. Now, that we can look in hindsight and say, oh, you should have known and, you should have just gone back. But there's lots of reasons why we double down. And oftentimes it is driven by this compulsion of, I already made a commitment to something. I just have to keep doing it and keep working towards it, even if it's not working. And so one of the things that we've learned in psychology is that this comes from this kind of general principle of cognitive dissonance. So we have a trend, a tendency that when we have made a commitment into a particular position, even when we get information that is contradictory to that position, we are more likely to continue with our position that's grounded in our original belief. So we have a position, there's contradictory evidence, we just ignore that evidence and continue going down that road. That's our double down. And we do that because of this idea of cognitive dissonance, that it's really uncomfortable for us to live in this state where what we believe, what we think is different or incongruent with the information that we're receiving. And so rather than change our beliefs, so we have 2 ways of resolving it. We can change our beliefs to make them consistent with the feedback that we're getting from reality, from the external world, or we can just ignore reality, ignore that feedback, and just continue to play out our original beliefs. So there's a lot of danger in ignoring the feedback that reality is giving us. Just like the 1996 expedition in Everest, we risk our well-being in our lives by ignoring that feedback. And so I invite you to think about the stress and pressure that you're feeling as feedback as feedback that life is giving to you to help you, craft a life with more authentic success. So life is actually telling you that you need more limits, and limits are a good thing. When you think about parenting, we give limits to our children because it keeps them safe, because it helps them to grow in a safe environment and to be nurtured and to explore themselves, but in a way where they won't get hurt. That's not just true for children, it's true for all of us. And so stress and exhaustion, that's feedback from our bodies. And when we're experiencing it, that feedback is urging us to reconsider our original beliefs and to change our strategy, to allow us to create a new strategy that will allow us to experience life without all of that stress and pressure. So this is the value of setting limits. Setting limits is what enables us to be our authentic selves, and it increases both our productivity and our happiness. So setting limits allows us to approach our task with what I describe as a calm and a focused attention. Calm and focus. That is unlike that reactionary, stressful reaction that we often get when we're stressed, right? So we're just like, we're just doing things. And oftentimes the choices that we make during those times aren't the best choices. They're not the most well thought out choices, and we don't bring our best selves to the task. But if we can set limits, then the things that we're doing always have our full attention, and they have the best parts of us. We're calm and we're focused and we're giving ourselves to whatever task is before us. Now, you may be familiar with what in businesses are talked about as Parkinson Law. And it's basically this idea that work expands to fill the amount of time set for it. So if you have a project and you give yourself 2 hours to do that project, how long is that project going to take? 2 hours, right? If you give yourself 40 minutes to do the project, it will take 40 minutes. And so the amount of time that we invest in a project is not equal to the quality of the project. But a lot of times when we give ourselves unlimited time, we start a project, we might get an email, something else is going on, we're kind of dilly-dallying, and eventually we'll get it done. But when I only have an hour, I block out all distractions, I stay focused, I'm not answering the phone, I have to get this done. That kind of focused attention allows me to get my best work done. And I don't have to wait until the last minute to do it. I can set up those limits for myself. I can give myself a limit and say, okay, this I want to get accomplished within an hour. I want to spend, 3 hours working on this particular goal and getting this done. So you can use this law to your advantage by setting limits to the tasks that you have before you. And the great thing is, you're the one setting the limits. You can set limits to anything. You can decide, okay, I'm only going to spend 30 minutes checking my email, or I'm only going to spend 10 minutes on Facebook. So yeah, everybody has to have some time to decompress, but give yourself a limit so that it allows you to pivot and stay focused, and it doesn't wind up 30, 40 minutes, an hour later. Oh my goodness, where's the time going? What have I done with this time? So Parkinson Law allows you to use this principle of setting limits to accomplish whatever task you have for yourself. And it allows you to be productive and to be happier and more creative as well. So I want to close by asking you a question. So what would you do differently if you accepted the fact that you can't get it all done, and that trying to do it all and trying to be all things to all people is actually working counter to your own happiness and to your career success. That's the reality of the situation. And so what happens when we stop going into denial and accept the reality? We can't do it all. I can't do it all. You can't do it all. So how would acknowledging that change how you spend your time? How might it change how you spend your money? How might it change how you experience stress and pressure? Right? So I want you to accomplish your goals and live at peak performance. I want you to have an authentic success. An authentic success is success that you can enjoy that doesn't come with the side effects of stress and guilt. And you can have that. And because I'm invested in helping people to live authentically and to accomplish authentic success, that's why I created that guidebook, Focus on Success. And this guide is focused particularly for people who are in either attempting to start a business or are in business and want to grow your business. I've created this guide to help you to be able to take the 5 steps that are necessary to growing your business without stressing yourself out and leading to overwhelm. So I encourage you, if you are a business owner or if you're thinking about starting your own business, to jump on into the Facebook group, download the guide, and start working with it. And for all of you who have joined with me today, I want to say it's a pleasure connecting with you. I look forward to this. This is part of a highlight of my week every week. And I look forward to seeing you again next Monday at 12 noon. If you've benefited from this video, please do share the information with other people. So many times as women, we feel like, we have to pretend that we are super women and we can do it all. And the point is that is stressing us out. So free somebody else. Help them to face the reality. We can't do it all, but we can do everything that is most important to us. So until I see you next week, I want to wish you a day and a life that is filled with meaning, purpose, and joy. Have a great day.